Diane, if you want to, I'd say go ahead and get started.
Okay.
And if you need me to, I can share the agenda, but I'm guessing because I didn't do a PowerPoint for tonight, but there's really not much. I mean, we approve minutes and then we have essentially one item on the agenda.
Okay. So we're going to open our Historic Preservation Commission meeting for June 8th. If you guys want to review last month's meeting minutes.
So Steve made a motion.
Okay. And do we have a second?
Very quiet.
Second.
Okay. You doing all those in favor?
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
And then you do have to say any opposed.
Any opposed?
You're approved.
Okay.
Now, next, we do have a visitor comment section, and you do have a visitor on. So I'm just going to see if he wanted to speak because I'm not sure if he had something. So let me just ask. Oh, he's raised his hand. Dave, if you want to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Very quickly, first of all, thanks for having me. And Mara, great job yesterday at the Plan Commission meeting. This may be a premature question for this commission, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And it does regard the redevelopment project by SG Collaborative. And that is that area, that site is rich and deep in Webster Grove's, particularly Black history. In 1866, former Black slaves came to Webster Groves. They built what is now the Old Community Baptist Church. It was originally the First Baptist Church. It sat on a piece of property called Porter's Subdivision. Shady Creek ran through it. And the former slaves lived up the hill, and you can see the hill in the back of the church from Kirkham in an area called Vinegar Hill. And this is where they lived. And there are specific people like Ken Langford, who was the first preacher. Miss Dotwell was the first teacher. In the basement of the church, which was the first Black school, the first school for Black kids in the entire St. Louis County. So this area is just full of history. And I'm just curious, right now, I think the development doesn't leverage any of that history. The name Douglas Hill certainly doesn't leverage that history. And I'm just curious whether or not now or later your commission might offer an opinion on that, because it could be valuable and important. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
So Mara, I mean, we really haven't discussed that project amongst our commission, so I'm not really sure how to address his concerns in regards to that.
Sure. So typically when other boards and commissions might have a question or a thought or a concern about a project that's before the Plan Commission, typically as a group, you can discuss whether you wish to provide a letter with any comments, questions, or concerns that are from the commission as a whole. But also as individual residents, you do have a right to, as an individual resident, write letters or comments or anything regarding any project. We just always say that when you do write in that manner, that you're writing as a resident and not writing that you are from a particular commission. But if a commission has a concern or something that they think is important that they want to share, they can definitely share it as a group. So for example, we were working on our 2-family code amendment change, and the Sustainability Commission felt very strongly that they wanted to provide support for that because it was sort of bringing back some intensity issues, overall footprint on ground, stormwater issues, and they felt it was important to support it. So they created and determined a letter that they wanted to put in the packet for consideration. So I usually tell all my various commissions when there are items coming up and hearings coming up, and you are more than welcome as a group to formulate some opinions if that is something that you want to do.
And then just the information that he just provided with us, I mean, is that something that you can ask him to provide documentation for us?
Sure.
I don't know if that's something that's already documented somewhere or if it's been discussed at all with this project.
I know that Dave has brought it up in public comment in other formats. I don't know if anyone has specifically asked for that documentation, but that could be something that we could ask Dave to give us some of that information or contacts of who could provide that information.
And I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but personally for me with this SG collaborative project, the only thing that I've kind of drawn a correlation between is obviously the church from a historic standpoint. And I know also on the corner of Gore and Pacific, there is a Century property that I think it's on one of the walks.
So the property on the corner is in a historic district, and in the current plan, it is proposed to remain. And the same thing with the church. Neither of those are being proposed to be demolished. So if you as a group would like me to ask for that additional information and you want to put it on the agenda next month. So just so you know, I think we have you on the agenda. Let's see, we're in June. Your July HPC meeting is the day after our next Plan Commission meeting. That doesn't mean that it's too late. So it might be worth people watching and listening to the meeting on the 12th if you are available. And that meeting starts at 6:30 and it will still be Zoom. The members themselves are mainly meeting in person, and then some of the members were Zoom, and so it's kind of a hybrid, but no one has been in the council chambers. We just don't have the room to provide that separation. But so it will be via Zoom again next month, but it's on July 12th, and then we have you all meeting on July 13th. So you could discuss it, and if there was something you wanted to formulate, we are asking for continued comments after that meeting, leading up to the meeting that will be happening August 9th.
Okay. Does anybody else have any feedback regarding our visitor comments?
I volunteer at Webster Rock Hill Ministries, and the only concern that seems to be regularly voiced is the wanting to protect the church. You know, fear fear that the church will in some way be damaged with the project. So it wouldn't hurt to have things in writing, I would think, the history behind it, at least as Dave is stating to us, to maybe talk about further.
Yeah, I would add, I mean, I know there's a lot of opinions about this project. And I think if we are going to write, I guess, our official statement or our position on it, I would assume it's important that we keep it strictly to the historical properties, not about how we feel about commercial, residential, traffic, any of that. It's strictly about those few historical properties and maybe the historical significance of the area, right?
I would think that that would be important for you to do. And then as individuals, if you have other concerns, you can do it as a individual, as a resident.
I would agree with that.
I mean, it sounds like, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like the plan is to keep the historical significance, the church and the historic building on that corner there, and they have, from what I've heard, I wasn't able to participate in the last one, but their goal is to keep the historical significance there and respect it. I mean, I guess they can, at the end, do whatever they want, I guess, but
Well, they can't do whatever they want.
I mean, like, they can say what they can say, hey, here's our plan now, and that can always change, is kind of what I meant. Like,
Well, so the rezoning is going to put a series of regulations in place. So those regulations are development regulations on what they can and cannot do for the property. So the property is being zoned to what's called a PC planned commercial district, is the request that they've made. PC planned commercial means, hey, I would like to propose this, and in return, we will promise to do this, 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 and this, like whatever those items are. So we will be crafting a special ordinance that will say, this is how tall it is. This is how many units you can have. This is what you might have to put in to deal with traffic. This is what you have to get in terms of permits with FEMA or the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. Here's the percentage of open space. Here's what the setbacks are. So in writing that and crafting that, you can put in very specific regulations that say these structures cannot be demolished. These structures need to be protected. So there are ways you can put those elements in. I think some of Dave's comments are a combination of protecting that, but also thinking about the history, which might be a different element than what you're thinking about. I know there's been some conversation about renaming the project to tie it back into the history. I know there's been some comments about some of the other areas. So some of it, I think, ties to what you're talking about and making sure that certain things are saved and that we do have a history, a documented history of the various properties. And then some of it, I think, is going in a slightly different direction of how you might name things or whether there might be other things documented on the site to recognize what was there.
Yeah, I was a little curious as to, if he had specific questions for us about, are you guys going to, help name some of the historical aspects of this area? Are you guys going to have anything there to honor the past that was there? Or if he was more thinking, are you guys going to be able to try to make this area some kind of historical, site that it can't be developed? So I
think, and again, we could put Dave back on. You as a commission can ask Dave additional questions if you want, because it's a visitor coming in and you guys make those rules. But basically, a lot of it is just, I think Dave's just asking, are you going to, as the Historic Preservation Commission going to provide any additional comments? Because right now, so we send the packet out to all of our departments. Some of those departments then share that information with different commissions. So Sustainability Commission, I know is looking at some things that they might have concerns about. I know Green Space, Open Space, they're looking at some concerns they have. So I try to, at each commission that I sit on, let people know when hearings are coming up so that they can attend. And then you as a group can decide how you would like to proceed and whether you would like to insert yourself with some comments. Again, it's just advisory comments, because then the Plan Commission takes all of that into consideration in making their recommendation to the City Council.
I mean, I think what he had to share with us is very interesting. And like I said, I would, really like to see the documentation of some of the historical facts that he brought to light. And then maybe, given that, we can have a discussion about if there's anything as a commission we would want to contribute.
I know he's listening. I'll ask him to send what he can send to me, which I can share with you, and we can add it onto the agenda for next month, if that makes sense.
I would simply add those people that are expressing concerns that I've heard is not so much, I think that they feel certain that the building will be saved, but the protection it will receive, they've experienced flooding over the years. Would this new project make them more at risk for flooding? That the building itself will be safe from harm that might be caused by the development.
And for anyone who couldn't attend last night and didn't want to stay till 11:15 p.m. last night, there is a folder now on our website, which has all the various documentation that we've provided, including our staff presentation. This first meeting was just talking about the process, but one of the key things when it comes to flooding is that there is oversight from multiple agencies, and FEMA, if you do any work within a floodplain area, does not allow you to move forward without what's called, there's a couple different things. There's one which would be a no rise certificate, which means that anything you do cannot make the flood level rise above where it is right now. There's also some FEMA information in regards to when you make certain improvements, you can do what's called a conditional letter of map revision, a CLOMAR. And with a CLOMAR, you can, if you make certain improvements, it means that you're maybe revising what's located in the floodplain and what's not located in the floodplain. And sometimes improvements can take areas out of the floodplain. And then if that conditional letter of map revision holds, as they continue to determine how they can engineer something, if it's then engineered correctly, they get a letter of map revision, which means it can take or pull properties potentially out of floodplain that now don't have to get flood insurance because they no longer are at risk of flooding. So for example, right now, Brentwood is doing this really big project called Brentwood Bound. And we as a city signed on to the Brentwood Bound project because they were doing detention areas that are going to hold water upstream from us. And it's actually going to take properties that are in Webster Groves out of the floodplain. So there's some areas along where Kirkham changes to Brentwood. That park area is much of it's going to come out of floodplain. There's also some apartments on the other side of the city that are going to come out of the floodplain. So depending on what gets done and what gets agreed to, if that is what's going to happen, FEMA could potentially help them in their improving the situation versus worsening. But they should not see a worsening situation because there are a bunch of different steps that they have to provide to show that it will not worsen any flood elevation in the surrounding area. And
I'll
that's one of my,
pass that on.
what?
I'll pass that on.
And that's one of my slides that says, hey, we're going to review FEMA, floodplain, the Army Corps of Engineers, the Department of Natural Resources, and MSD. They all have jurisdiction over that area and what can be done and how it can be done in order to not cause further deficiencies to that area. I know we went a little off track with this. I just want to make sure I think I've got a direction on this. I'm going to add it to the July meeting, ask Dave for additional backup information. And then for anyone who can attend the night before, it would be really helpful so that you can see as they present the project. Anything else on that?
I don't think so.
So just an FYI on your agenda, you don't have any public hearings. We have no certificates of appropriateness tonight. You don't have any demolition recommendations tonight. We do technically need to at some point elect a secretary because I've been doing the minutes. And we previously did have someone who did the minutes for each month. So we do need to elect a secretary, but I know we are missing a couple members. So maybe we put that off possibly. And then the only other item you have on is old business, which was us trying to talk about potential projects that you all want to take on over the next year or so. So I will leave you to that conversation.
Can you remind me that when we were discussing the Lustron homes and the Sears kit homes, were those projects meant to be their own walk? Or was there something we were trying to do with like historic designation with those?
Sure. So for those of you that are new on the agenda, I brought back a number of projects that we had discussed last year. So last year we had a conversation about some possible new projects, which could include a whole new Tuxedo Park historic district designation, which it was going to be a pretty enormous project and you'd have to have neighborhood buy-in. We talked about the Lustron homes, and one thought was that could be that we could designate Lustron homes as historic. So even though they're not a district in itself, you could potentially designate them. And I believe one of the previous members sent letters out to all the owners of the existing Lustron homes, trying to see if they could get them interested in getting them designated, which could potentially give them some, if depending on how they did the work or whatever, some options on trying to help preserve them. And I will tell you, we have lost, I want to say 3 Lustron homes in the last maybe 5 years within the city of Webster Groves. The Sears kit homes, that's a little bit, there's some question about whether we've even identified all of them. So there was a conversation about, well, could we do some research and try to identify as many as we can in Webster Groves, and then possibly do another walk, which wouldn't be a walk, but more of a drive that would take you around to different places in the city to see potentially Sears kit homes, Lustron homes, and other maybe mid-century modern structures that are in Webster Groves that people maybe don't know about. So it could be kind of its own walk that's more of a drive. And then we'd had some conversations about maybe doing additional Webster walks, which tied in. And then we were also talking about the website and the Historical Society with the help of William, I'm going to forget his last name, Weckman, has been doing he's been digitizing all of the walks, and he has taken all the little parts. He's been recording his voice talking through the walk so that someone can actually listen to it. And then taking new photographs and adding all of those in and creating a walk essentially of all of the historic walks. And we had talked about tying that into our the option of a historical walk that we have through our GIS mapping, which would essentially be that someone could go into an app, and that app could take you as you're walking around the community. Once you get to the place, because you can see the map on your phone, once you get to that location, you could click and listen to his voice as he narrates that section of the book. And that it would also have the place for additional photographs. So that required a little bit more additional help and work on that. But he gave me an update actually just today. He said he drove by and he saw the sign and said he knew that we had a meeting tonight. And he wanted to let you all know, they took photographs of the Tuxedo Park walking tour homes. They've processed and posted them. So 7 of the 8 walking tours will be completely finished with only the photographs needed for the North Webster to totally complete all of them. They're also adding, he's also adding cafes to great places on the routes to stop and get refreshed while you're taking one of the walks. And he said next he's going to begin the research on century homes that are not included on the tours. With a focus on specific areas, so like Gore Avenue. And then I think you probably had heard, he has all these ideas. So actually I think I can share the screen. Let me go and hold on. So for those that have not seen it yet, this is what he'd been working on. And he actually has there's an audio player for an overview of the walks. And then I know he's got the various tours. And when you click on them, if I can, there it goes. He has gone in and he has a map link. He has some things about the architecture. He's taken the various pictures, and then you can see you can play each little audio piece as you're standing in front of it. So he has these all in here now. He's done a little artsy bit with the photographs to make them look a little bit more like a watercolor. And he has all the audio for the walk. And then I know he had some additional links that he'd put in, and he's just done an amazing job. And he has, I think he said all except the last one he hasn't done yet is North Webster photos. And then he's working on some things with century homes that he's going to be working on next. And then I know he has some additional things that he's been attempting to work on and was going to have future links. And we had talked to him a little bit. He hasn't moved to Webster yet. He's moving the first weekend in July. He's moving back is what I should say, is he's moving back to Webster the first week in July. And we had talked to him about, he can continue to, we don't have any openings on Historic Preservation Commission, but I know he's still working so closely with the Historical Society, and he is welcome to come to any of your meetings at any time. So if you have, it's webstergroveshistorichomes.org is the website. And so if anyone wants to go and check it out. So that's kind of what the projects were that we had talked about, but that doesn't limit you to just that. There might be something else that you want to take on. It could be that you all decide once you get the information from Dave Buck that your project over the next few months is that you want to put together some special historic history of the redevelopment area so that it should it be redeveloped, there might be something that could be done with some walk or some locations where you can learn about the history or something like that. That could be a whole nother project. So any project thoughts?
I like the idea of the Lustron and Sears Kit homes like being another drive through Webster, but I don't know, the Lustron homes are those are really cool to me. So I think that that kind of sticks out as something that would be fun to do for me. I mean, it's so unique. I mean, the whole concept of that home and the way they were manufactured, and it's so different than any other, that I'm aware of, the architecture and the home, and the taking the idea of a kit home, I guess you would call it, but making it like, this is your house. It's like a bunch of Legos that you're putting together, and there's nothing you need to do to it. No maintenance, no nothing. As long as you take care of it, it's indestructible. And it's really cool that there's a significant number still left in Webster. So to me, that's kind of the project that sticks out to me as something that would be unique to, I don't know if it's designating them or doing, simply bringing awareness to them that maybe those people that still own them will have more of a connection, or people will not be so quick to try to bulldoze them.
There's one other.
Jane, you're unmuted. And Stephen, I know you were talking.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry. Do we know roughly how many Lustron homes are left?
Oh, I would have to go look in my folder. I want to say there were 5 or 6. I know specifically of 3 that have been demolished in the last 5 years.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, there was one on Baker. There was one on Simmons. There was one on Hart, I believe, are the 3. And new construction homes went in their place. There is one over by the Schnooks that the Schnooks owns that is not in very good condition, and they had a renter in it, and there's no renter in it now. I see that one as the next one.
The one on Old Watson near me is in poor condition.
It is in very poor condition. There's one on
Edgar, and there's one in North Webster.
Yep. There's one on Edgar Road that's good condition. I should have, let me check really quick while everyone keeps talking. I believe I have a list I can't remember if I put it in the link or not. Let me check the link first before I go wandering through my folders. We were one of the largest in the area. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, because I was reading through all the documentation that you provided, and I thought it said there was given this was a couple years, the piece was from a couple years ago, but I thought it said that there was 10.
Well, that's not just in Webster, I believe. That was in the general area.
Yeah, I know Brentwood has.
There's some on Litzinger in Brentwood, yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking to see if my packet of all the Lustron stuff included my information on the ones that we've already contacted. But I think I just gave you a lot. Let me look for one other place where I might be able to find it. HPC, Lustron Homes, Lustron Home Owners. Hold on. In 2012, there were 21 in Webster Groves.
Wow.
Then there's 5 that have been removed, but I don't know if there's then the other 3 after that, and I think there are. So hold on, I can share the addresses. This is a 2012 document. Share screen. So there were 2 on Baker, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on Eldridge. So I believe the 237 Baker is the one that just got removed a couple years ago for a new house. I know the one on Hart has been removed for a new house. And one of these ones on Simmons was removed for a new house. And so you can see some of them have been cited, so you don't necessarily know it's there. So it might be worth checking to see how many of these are still there and which other ones have been removed. I'm concerned about this 441 South Maple is the one owned by Schnucks.
I don't see the Edgar Road one on.
You're right. I think that's because it's addressed from Plateau.
Oh,
I think it's addressed from Plateau. I'm going to open up the mapping and see.
How did the one on 505 Ridge, why is that historic and none of the other ones are?
It might have been someone just decided that they were wanting to document that. Oh, guess what? 505 Ridge is the Edgar Road one.
oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought it was Plateau, but Ridge is the street that it's addressed off of. And that one's in immaculate condition.
That one's in very good shape. Yeah.
But yeah, so I do have this list. I also have a letter. Trying to see what other. We did have a list of all the owners of the various Lustron homes at one point. Again, this documents from 2006. And then we had another set of addresses for mailing addresses from 2017. So there's a number of different documents that I think people have pulled together. So if that was something you wanted to undertake, and then maybe add on a few other, I know there's also under this year's kit homes, there were some articles, and I know that there's a website from someone who has identified some specific ones in Webster Groves. I know some are harder to identify than others. Before I moved to Webster, when I lived in the city, our neighbor next door had no clue hers was until they went to do something in the basement and they found the stamp on the piece of wood in the basement.
There's a Lustron home in St. Charles that was open for tours and luncheons and so forth. And visiting that, I saw a movie about the company, what happened to the company. They oversold and why the company went belly up.
Huh.
It was very interesting. I'll have to look for that and see if we can access that,
That
because
would be very cool.
it explains about how popular they were and they couldn't fill the orders fast enough. And they got into financial ruin.
So I mean, we could add on to the next meeting. If anyone wants to look and see if there's any other information they can find above and beyond what I've already shared for the Lustron. I can add additional information, like I could get you all the list of those homes. You could do a drive around and see which ones are still there. Are others also as enamored of that? Is there something else you wanted to take on?
I would certainly be interested in the drive around to see if I could spot them. As you said in your list, some are kind of camouflaged with siding and a little harder to spot.
The nice thing is if you have the address,
Sure.
that helps a little bit. And I find I sometimes do Google Street Views for it. So for example, let's see. So 241 Simmons says it's sided and roofed. So I'm going to. So if I do Google. So look at that.
Oh, yeah.
You probably wouldn't have recognized that as being a Lustron.
Because even the porch supports have been changed.
Mm-hmm. Let's do another one. So, cited 226 Simmons. So that one, you can still see the roof, but look, they put this
Right.
brick
Right.
and the siding. So the only thing that's really recognizable is the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I know that I
The one
see that.
next door to that?
Oh, yes, the one next door has the porch support you would see on a typical one.
So I believe that's the one that was demolished. Hold on, let me check. So what did I just did 226. Hold on. Well, it's still showing it. Yeah, there it is.
That piece of wrought iron
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
some of the panels.
Yep, the panels there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see which one. 241308.
I mean, that picture's from 2014 though, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And sometimes if you go down the street, I believe that's the one that's gone. Let me check. Let's see. What did I just say? It was 228 Simmons. Let me check. Permitting system. What did we say? 228?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, 228 Simmons.
Nope, that one's still there. So it must be a different one. Let me see. Simmons and new, oops. Maybe it's on Papin. It was either Simmons or Papin. Nope, it's not that one either. I'll have to figure out where it was. It was definitely the one on Baker, and then the one on, I swear it was on Simmons. I'll have to look again, because I saw both of those get demolished.
That's like, I mean, I know on your list there was a handful that were on the same street, but that's just interesting that, I mean, reading through it and learning about how they sold those homes, it's interesting that they would be next to each other. Like, it seemed like it's not a builder that's like going out and building a neighborhood.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting that they would pop up, there'd be multiple next to each other. It's like, I don't know, that to me, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so this is one of them that was really close to each other. So it's 101 and then 121. That one you don't recognize as much. Look at that. They've kind of painted it. Oh, wait, there's the one next door. That one still has. And
The
then
roof and the siding.
Yeah.
I mean, did they have like sales representatives?
Yeah, I
They
believe
did.
they did.
Like maybe that might be a reason why they're kind of clustered together.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's funny.
So yeah, there's these two, and then there's one more at 124. I think it's right across the street. Yep. So there you go.
Would
There's
they?
one.
Oh, they
I don't know
moved
if
the front door.
I don't know if anyone knows this, but would they buy the lot and sell the lot and the house to somebody, or did they? Because to me, I'm reading. I mean, I kind of briefly read through their brochures and stuff, but it didn't seem like they would sell you the kit, and then you would find somebody to build it for you. So I mean, maybe that's why. Maybe there were connections and builders were out there with their sales reps trying, and they buy up lots and sell them. I don't know.
So here's what would be fascinating in the history. So if we just, for example, go to St. Louis County's website and go to that address. And from there, if we look at what year they say, so they say year built 1950.
Mhm.
So if we look at 1950, the library has scanned all of the building permits. So someone could take the time and look at 1950 and go through and see if we can see who did it. We might be able to see if we kind of scrolled through them, if we could find the permit for Eldridge. I know it didn't take me all that long to find mine in 1940. So it wouldn't take all that long if someone kind of did a quick look, and you might be able to see who it was. So anyway, just a thought. You can kind of tie these pieces together of, we've got it here. We get the year that approximately county thinks it was built. We go and try to find here if we can find the building permit for when it was built. You'd probably have to do the year before and the year after. It looks like Corona Court was built one after the other in 1950. Corona Court, Corona Court, Corona Court. But anyway, just a thought in terms of our history.
I don't know if like before when you guys were kind of thinking about doing this and you sent letters out, would it be something to where like we could maybe reach out to some of the Lustron homes that are in Brentwood just with a letter for the owners to see if they have any information or input, even though they're not technically in Webster?
I don't think it would hurt to see in the general area, yes. But obviously your focus is supposed to be Webster, but again, I don't think that prohibits you from doing it.
There on Litzinger in Brentwood, you kind of see the evolution because you see some that are untouched and others that are camouflaged with siding.
Sorry, I'm still scrolling through.
It does make sense though, since they shipped the parts by train and then flatbed, that several people in the neighborhood might get on board because shipping was made more economical for them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Any other thoughts? We can pull some additional information together and you guys could continue to discuss it at the next meeting if everyone kind of like wants to take the next month and peek their head around at things related to Lustron and Sears Kit Homes. I can send you everything that we have in our files.
I would be interested in that.
That original agenda did have links. So if you go to our agenda, click on what I did share originally, but I have additional stuff. So for example, I know under the Lustron homes, I've got a couple of these letters and a sample letter. Here, actually, I'm going to share this really quick. This was a sample letter that talked about, you know, after World War II, there was a shortage of housing, talks about saying your Lustron home has been selected for consideration of landmark designation. So they did try this a while back. And I don't know if they got much, you know, sometimes just sending a letter doesn't necessarily help. Sometimes it's more reaching out once you know who the people are and trying to get, you know, connections. But there is already a sample letter. I don't know whether they specifically sent it out, but since there are some, there is a file that has some mailing addresses, I would guess that they probably did send them out.
I mean, I know we have it on, you have it to put it on next month's agenda about Dave's research information. I think that's something that I kind of think is interesting for us to try to delve a little deeper into, especially because this is such a big project that's happening right now in Webster.
We
So I
can
don't know the
put those-
timeliness of that, but I feel like that's something that would be kind of interesting to look into as a commission too.
I think if we put those two on, that would be more than enough for an agenda. And then I will tell you, I am anticipating, I don't know if it's for next month or maybe the month after, I am hearing of at least 2 more potential demolitions. So, you know, we do need to remember, we still have to leave a little bit of time for those. And obviously you don't have to tackle an entire project in one meeting. We can hold it over to multiple. But I can definitely put those items on for next month, definitely.
I don't think it's a bad idea for us to think about just going back to what Ann was saying about the project, and you know what we kind of talked about in the beginning about an answer, right, or a statement or whatever you want to call it. I do think it's probably part of our responsibility as our commission to have an official a statement on this project. So I do think it's in our best interest to collectively put together a 1-page, you know, stance on what we think is important and what our position is on this project. And we all collectively agree on it. And whether it's just filed away in the booklet of things that have been submitted, I do think it's our responsibility as this group to have an answer to that project, or have a statement.
So if it helps, here's the question that I have is for next month's meeting. If I was able to do it as a hybrid, where if someone couldn't attend or didn't want, you know, wasn't comfortable attending or wanted to watch your meeting, right now in council chambers, we can sit at the dais, we can have microphones. People would be able to just see the room and you all sitting in the room. You wouldn't see all of your faces, but we could be in the same room. If I did do that for next month's meeting, how many of you would want to come to City Hall?
I have no problem coming.
I don't have
could.
a problem.
Yeah,
I
could.
would be interested in doing that. Yes.
Just out of
Okay.
curiosity, can I see a show of hands? Who's fully vaccinated? Okay, I can be there.
So do know, we do have the requirement at City Hall that they ask people, we can't ask them their status, but we ask people that if they are not vaccinated, that they wear their mask when they are in City Hall. For those that are fully vaccinated, they do not have to wear their masks in City Hall. We have found that our staff, we mainly, when we are interacting with the public, just go ahead and wear our masks when we're doing direct one-on-one interaction. We would have you separated. You're not going to be super separated, but you're 2 or 3 feet apart. We would be in the council chambers versus in the conference room, which puts you a little bit further separated from one another. And I'd be happy to set it up for that if you would all like to do that for next month.
I'd be okay with that.
I'd be fine.
I should be able to make that happen. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
If for some reason, and I should know these dates, I don't, and I apologize for that. My in-laws are coming in
Yeah.
from Florida, and they haven't been here since everything happened. If for some reason I can't come in, is it possible to still log in via Zoom, or would
definitely.
that just be a miss?
No. We would definitely, so I will not go to in-person only. We would go to a hybrid. So right now, because I would be able to put you in the council chambers, it would be what we've been doing for the last couple city council meetings and what we just did for planning commission last night, which is you would still be able to zoom in as you, and we could put you up on the screen so everyone could see you. And then everyone who's sitting in the room, what you would see though, is you'd see a little image that just shows the council chamber and you'd see little tiny heads of the different people sitting behind at the various seats. But they would still be able to hear you and you would be able to hear them.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I should be able to. Like I said, I don't think there's going to be overlap, but just in case there is, that's good to know.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool.
We will always make sure, and then I will tell you that what we would do is we would have applicants, if they have demolitions, to do Zoom only. So at this point, it would just be members in the room, and then any applicants that had any questions or any visitors would need to Zoom in. We're kind of transitioning that way. That's what we did with Plan Commission last night. We didn't have applicants. We just had the commission members, the staff, and the council liaison. And if anyone needs to Zoom, we had 3 Plan Commission members Zoom last night, and our city attorney Zoomed because he was out of town. So we would definitely provide that opportunity. But if everybody's okay with that, we don't really have anything else on the agenda unless anyone has any questions.
I have one other thing I wanted to mention. It's not an immediate project. It's something I've been playing with, but haven't really had time. A year and a half, I guess, ago, we talked about Joy houses built by the Joy family. I've done a little bit of research, but not enough, not nearly enough. I know that there were 20 acres built north of Lockwood, centered on Joy Avenue by this family, and that they've done little pairs of houses throughout this. I learned that Grant's Cabin was their construction office for a time after the Rose Fair. Anyway, if anybody else is interested in chasing this down, I simply haven't had the time, and quite honestly, I've been in lockdown. So if somebody wants to look into this with me, please.
So if you want to send it to me, I can, what you have so far, I can send it out to everyone.
I'll put together what I had put together into a little bit of a packet and send that.
And then that way we have it so that it could be a future project if someone doesn't want to take it on right now.
And that was the Joy?
Yes.
Okay.
And Mara, I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to discuss it at the last meeting, but I think it was Stephen that asked the previous meeting. What is this? This is June, May, April meeting about, was there any direction or specific request or that the council had for the commission here in terms of what you might do?
Oh, that was Doug.
Doug, that was Doug. Okay, sorry, Stephen.
Okay, we're still.
But I know that I don't know if you guys talked about it last month, but I know we did talk about it in council meeting, and I think there was discussion about doing because there's so many new people on the commission here, doing a possible training.
We did that last month.
Okay.
Yes. So Karen, yes, what you guys all proposed, we made happen.
Okay.
And Karen, if you want, I do have the PowerPoint that we did for them last month, and I can share that with you if you want to see it.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Yep. I will take care of that. Anyone have anything else?
All right, I guess, do we have a motion to end the meeting?
I so move.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, Mara, go get some rest.
I'm gonna go sleep. All right, enjoy the week, everyone, and I'll send some information soon, and then we'll see you next month.
All
Great.
right,
Thank
have a
you.
good month, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.